Hello and welcome to this brief introduction of the SWIM platform. SWIM is short for Sustainable Water Through Integrated Modeling. And throughout this presentation, we're going to be looking at the motivation of the project. What are the objectives that we try to accomplish? We'll be giving a description of the user interface. We'll also be looking at, in a big global scope, the model scenarios creation. And finally, we'll be doing a quick walkthrough of our project website. First, to start with, the SWIM project has several motivation points, starting with stakeholder engagement, which is that we want to involve as many people as possible in this project, and we want to make it easier for them, and we want to provide some kind of social impact. Next, we have participatory modeling, which is something that hasn't really become commonplace throughout scientific practices. Normally, models are made by scientists. They come up with a bunch of results, and normally they're presented through papers, articles, or through presentations. But there is very small engagement from actual stakeholders that can be affected by some of the things that scientists are modeling. Next, we also have the motivation of the use of scientific tools. So many of the scientific tools used today have very steep learning curves, and normally there's some kind of need of coding skills or limited documentation in order to use these tools. We also have the motivation of interoperability, where we have the situation that we are normally working with heterogeneous data, which is data that might be used for different purposes and normally comes from also decoupled sources. An additional thing about heterogeneous data is that it might come in different formats, so it might not be homogeneous to use it straightforward for a specific model or purpose. And next, we also want to engage into relevant models. So a lot of the scientific models developed today are normally not designed for integration. So this means that they are normally made through some kind of specialized software that is only understandable to a small amount of people, or to the people that have a good knowledge in that specific area. And this software is normally used for an offline environments. So everything is coded and developed in an offline environment. And normally, what comes out of these models isn't really ready for online use. Now, some of the objectives in the project. Our main one is to expose water sustainability models on the web. And we also want to help users to interpret these models by explaining and describing the science behind the models. And a very important thing is that all of these online models should be easy to grasp. So that way, stakeholders with no previous experience in modeling can actually go through this very simple process of interacting with the models without necessarily having a very specialized knowledge into how to use these models or how to understand them. Now I'm going to give a brief description of the user interface part of the project. So our user interface is a cutting-edge web-based graphical user interface that is used for user model interaction. It integrates scientific models developed with heterogeneous third-party modeling software. So this means that this software can come from different vendors or different open source community projects, and normally they're heterogeneous among each other. So the data formats used in the software and the purposes used to develop these models might be different, but Swim pretty much tries to create several software modules that actually glues everything together into a single database model that can be then used by our user interface, and the user interface implements a very generic way of interacting with these models. The user interface also provides multiple data presentation and visualization options, which will be very useful for the user to interpret the results and put together different scenarios that can be run instantaneously on these models. The interface also provides some unique data and interaction features, which we'll be looking at on the next couple of videos. And overall, the system wants to go towards a personalized view, mainly based on different user group perspectives. So by this, we mean that the user is taking in information from the interaction that users do with the system. So we're pretty much logging what outputs they're clicking, what type of user group they're a part of. So they can be a researcher, they can be a farmer, they can be a water manager, and so on. And all of these different perspectives normally focus on different things, different outputs, different aspects regarding to the models that we have integrated with the interface. So each of these different groups might want to look at different things, and they want to maybe look at different graphs in different ways that the other groups get. So as a first instance, we are collecting this data of how the users interact with the system, so that later the system can learn and adapt and present the information according to how those specific group of users actually want to see it. Now in this slide, we're going to look at the Swim user workflow, which is the set of steps that the users need to take in order to interact with some of the scientific models that are integrated into the platform. First of all, it is a very simple three-step process, which is composed of selecting modeling scenarios. So we have a set of predefined scenarios, as you can see on the left-hand side. And these scenarios can also come in different categories. So users have the chance to mix and match the scenarios in any way that they like. And in the case that they want to customize the model inputs even further, they have the option to also go into view and edit inputs, where they will have access to the input catalog. So everything of parameters that's going into the model, they will have the transparent access to look at that information, and some of those parameters will be user changeable, so they can tweak it and change according to what they think is necessary. We currently have only two use case models integrated into the platform. One was it's a very simple water balance model for the Middle Rio Grande region. And currently, this was developed using Scilab, which is a mathematical software which is very similar to MATLAB, but in this case, Scilab is open source and free. We are also using GAMS, which is short for the General Algebraic Modeling System. And this piece of software is used mainly to create and run system optimization models. So we do have a simple bucket scale optimization model of the Middle Rio Grande integrated into Swim as well. So once first the user needs to select the model that I want to use. So they select the scenarios, they can change the inputs, and then they have access to on the fly run the model, right? So they would just put in some description, a name to their model. Depending on what model you're using, it may take from a few seconds to a few minutes to execute. And then after the execution is successful, they will have access to view the results in many different kinds of ways, such as the one presented on the right-hand corner, where we have views like catalogs, we have line charts, We have summary charts and bar charts as well. So there will be a bunch of different visualization options to actually look at the results, and also the option to download the result into Excel spreadsheets. Now, the benefits that we see so far on using an interface like this is that it makes data discovery very easy. So all of the information is transparent. It's easy to filter out and search everything that is used and outputted from each of the models. We also have the benefit of doing participant-driven modeling. So as we go through the process of running different scenarios, stakeholder participants can guide all this process, and so that we can look at the things that are of most interest to them. It also has some benefits in education, so maybe as introductory courses for students that are starting to get into the modeling aspect or the scientific modeling aspect of things. So this can be a very good tool to get people introduced into the use of models. We also provide different data visualization options and data tools that will help support the interpretation and the results that are coming out from these models. And finally, one of the main benefits or goals of doing a system like this is that we provide an informative tool for decision making that can be for policy making, infrastructure, or many different things. Now on this very convoluted slide, this is kind of a big overview of how the different steps in the workflow are done through SWIM. So like I mentioned before, first the user needs to select the model. Then they will need to go through a selection of scenarios, and they also have the chance to look at the different parameters that are affected by that scenario. So one scenario can affect one or multiple parameters in the system, and we also give the chance for users to actually look at all of how these parameters change when you click on a different scenario. And we also have this optional section so that you can tweak the parameters. So there will be a bunch of different widgets available depending on what parameter you're looking at. So maybe you will have sliders like the ones that we see here. Maybe there will be tables, and all of these can be user changeable very easily. And finally, we can also go ahead and run the scenario. If we move to step number 2, and here's where they would put the name of the scenario, what role they're interested in looking at, and a description of their scenario. And finally, once the execution is successful, they will have access to view a summary and some summary widgets of what happened throughout the overall run. They'll also have access to an output catalog where they can see all of the output variables coming from that model. And for each of the output variables, they will have a chance to actually look at the details of each of these variables and look at the information in very different ways. So now I'm going to go ahead and give a quick website walkthrough. And our short URL to access the project website will be purl.org/swim. Okay, so I'm just going to give a quick walkthrough of all of the different sections that are available on our project website. But if you want to go more into depth of all of the different features and tutorials of the things that you can do with the interface, you would need to go ahead and look at more videos that we're going to be uploading in our tutorial section. So once you go into the website, we have the website available in both English and Spanish, and you can change the languages if you go into the left top corner of the navigation bar. You can switch for the Mexican flag to look at the website in Spanish, or the American flag if you want to look at it in English. Some of the different sections that we have, if we start from our top navigation bar, we have our model section. So all of the different models that will be integrated into the platform will be available here. So as of right now, we have two use cases, which is the water balance model and the hydroeconomic model. Now, if you click into any of the models, you'll be taken to this landing page where you have some descriptions and some diagrams about the models, just so that you can get familiar with what the model is about. And if you click on create scenario, then you go through all of that workflow process so that you can interact with the model. So those are some of the things that we'll be looking at in the next few videos. We also have scenario sections. So there's different kind of scenarios that have previously been executed. So we have canned scenarios, and the canned scenarios are previous executions of the models where we just try to assess some kind of specific question that some of our stakeholders have been interested in. So if you want to just go and look directly at the results that kind of try to answer some of these questions, you would just click on view scenario and you will see the results with only the output variables that have to do with that specific theme. We also have the public scenario section, and this is pretty much just a listing of all of the executions that have been done in the system and that are publicly available. So if you run an execution and you're not registered, your scenario will appear on this table. And of course, you'll have the chance to directly go and look at the results at any other time, to look at some of the metadata about that execution. Or you can also create a shareable link in case that you wanna share those results with someone else. Finally, if you're logged in, so I'm just gonna log into the system here really quick. If you do log into the system, you will have access to the My Scenario section. And if you go here, these are the model scenarios that are not available to the rest of the public, but you can do a lot of different things with your own scenario. So this just keeps track of the ones that you just want for yourself. And of course, I encourage everyone to register. So if you want to get information of all of the latest features of webinars or studies that we're going to be making throughout this project, you can just go ahead and fill out this user registration form. And we will be asking you to agree with our web privacy policies, which are available by clicking on these links, or also if you go to the footer section of the website. Finally, we also have our help section. So a lot of video tutorials and even documented tutorials will be available here. So as of the moment that I'm recording this video, this is just the first one, so this will be available soon, but we'll be recording shorter videos, like 5 minutes, tops 10-minute videos, so that you can quickly get acquainted with how everything works. And finally, we also have our full documentation section. So we do try to update these a couple of months. So here you will have a lot more detailed information of all of the system itself, kind of gives an overview of the system, a lot of the features that are available on the front end. You'll also have access to even how everything was programmed, the technologies that we're using, our database models, which we are constantly improving and making more abstract. So these kind of things are not only just for Swim, but we do want to make it available for other kind of scientific projects that could benefit from this. You also have access to look at a more detailed documentation of all of the models that are integrated into the platform. And finally, we have our open source section, where as soon as we're ready to deploy our code to the world and to the community, everything eventually will be open source and available through GitHub. So there is already some code out there of some of our backend services, but as we move on into the project, you will be seeing a lot more code out there that can definitely help a lot of people out. So this is all I have for this video. Stay tuned for the next set of videos where we'll be actually doing tutorials on using the system. Thank you so much.